This highlight of the moment has been brought to you by the National Advertising Challenge, where big brands get big ideas. Learn more at nationaladvertisingchallenge.com. Even before the ad industry, and I hope I remember this right, I think you were a station writer at a radio station in London, Ontario, I think. You can correct me. Burlington, okay, somewhere out there. And I know you had some great stories about that, but I think the one thing that you always referenced was what it taught you. I guess maybe the idea of calling a writing room and a radio station as a creative department when we think of announcer read scripts and so on. But what did that teach you, and how did that shape you as a writer in the very early days?
Well, it's funny because when I went to Ryerson, it was the first year was radio, the second year was television, the third year was film. I had no interest in radio. I was kind of pissed off that I had to spend a whole year doing radio because television was really where I wanted to be. And I kind of started to like radio at Ryerson, which was kind of a surprise to me. Then when I got out of Ryerson into a mild recession in 1981, I sent out resumes to every advertising agency across the country, over 60 of them, small 2-person shops and big shops. Nobody would hire me because I had no experience. So as on a whim, my girlfriend, now wife Debbie, was living in just out between Burlington and Hamilton, and I would get on the GO bus and go visit her every weekend, and I would see a radio station out my window from the bus. And one day I just got off early, took the stop before my usual stop, and went to that radio station and popped my resume in there, and they hired me. So again, I didn't want to be in radio. I wanted to be in an advertising agency, not radio. But here I was, radio was the one place that would take me. What was interesting about that radio station, Steve, was it was a small private station. So it was a lot like WKRP in Cincinnati. It was owned by a bunch of doctors as an investment, and a lot of Toronto characters that were big radio voices, but then were blackballed by the market, ended up at that station, which is very interesting. They either drank on the air or they had some catastrophe on the air, and then they ended up at that little station. I was the only writer. So we had about 150 ongoing retail clients in any given time, as any small radio station does. So it was baptism by fire. I would write sometimes 20 commercials a day because I had to. There was just no other way around it. There were start dates I had to meet. The other thing about learning how to write fast and getting on the phone, and sometimes I'd be writing it as I'd be presenting it to the client on the phone because it was just such a fast turnaround all the time. One of the funniest things about that job was trying to corral announcers to be in your commercials because they hated to do it. So I'd be waiting outside the control room for a jock to come off the air before he was going to the golf course, and I'd try to tackle him and bring him into the studio and sit him down and give him some copy to read. And if there was 2 voices on it, I'd do the other voice. And if there were 3 voices on it, I'd do the third voice and just put my finger on the spindle of the tape machine to slow my voice down, just so it sounded like there were 3 of us in the room. And I learned to become resourceful that way. Even in that day, it sounds like prehistoric times, all the sound effects, Steve, were on vinyl records. So if I needed sound effects, I would go into this room that was full of sound effects records, and it would be like dog barks, bird chirps, door opens. And I'd pull the door open vinyl record, put a needle and just jump the needle to find the right, door open, and then take that into the studio, transfer it to tape. I learned all of that in that first job. It was literally radio baptism by fire.